folks, welcome back. I'm your host, R.R. Slugger, and I'm still Canadian, could you tell? Earlier this summer, I released a video called Great Mold, Bad Colors, and this is essentially the opposite of that one. In this video, I want to talk about one of my favorite LEGO colors that I feel was plagued with some pretty unuseful molds. Without further obfuscation, the color in question today was known as violet. A product of the late 90s, this LEGO color would unfortunately fail to escape the great color purge of 2004. So many legacy colors met their end here, and violet was one of the unlucky among them. According to Bricklink, there are 79 episodes of Star Trek: The Original Series. Coincidentally, there are also 79 LEGO pieces that were produced in violet.
Fascinating.
Again though, this is according to Bricklink, and Bricklink is a storefront first and an accurate catalog second. A distant second if you ask me. As a relevant example, Bricklink claims that the color violet was introduced in 1992, but I just don't think this is correct. Yes, a carry case for a LEGO pirate set was molded in a similar shade of plastic, but do we really consider this to be the start of the brick color we came to know? Personally, I say no, but I'm also a slug who doesn't include printed or fabric colors in these kinds of discussions either. You might draw the line somewhere else, but you're not the one making this video. Sorry. For as inaccurate as I think Bricklink is in this case, Brickset is somewhere on the moon. They list the color's introduction as 2001, but I think this is just patently false. We've got several Scala and Belleville sets that predate this, so I don't know what's going on over there. Best I can tell, violet was produced as a brick color from 1999 to 2003. During that time, it was included in a grand total of 42 molds spread across 38 sets. That's not according to Brickset or Bricklink, that's according to R.R. Slugger. Your count may differ based on your criteria. That being said, I don't have anything remotely close to a complete collection of this color. To add to that, I don't especially want a complete collection of this color. Part of the reason I made this video was to talk about why I feel most of these pieces are unrelated to each other and aren't especially useful as a result. There are a ton of strange, limited-use colors that cropped up in the late 90s, only to be cut down in the mid-2000s. However, I think violet is one of the more uniquely unuseful because of how its limited part selection was distributed across several LEGO building systems. For example, one of the themes most closely tied to this color essentially endeavored to create a building system unto itself, Galador. Nick Deluxe featured a pair of violet wings, complete with spring-loaded projectile launchers. In addition to Nick, the Egg, or TDN module, used a sizable amount of this plastic within its own makeup as well. With that being said though, these are the only instances of this color appearing in Galador, and that does limit how you can use it within or without the theme. Striking as it is, it hardly makes a dent in the part inventory that makes up the Galador series. Another prolific use case for this color is in the Jango Fett minifigure from the original Attack of the Clones Slave 1 set. Despite my best efforts, I don't own this minifigure, and its unique nature has led to its rarity and inflated price on the aftermarket. Interestingly, there was a Technic version of this figure that used many of the same colors. I did have this one as a kid, and it introduced a modest amount of set-exclusive Technic elements. There isn't a lot here that I'd consider to be immediately useful, but it's worth noting that 8 of the 42 violet molds are Technic pieces. Not enough to give you much to work with, but also enough that it's a significant chunk of the molds found in the violet color, kind of the worst of both worlds. Adding to this anguish is Violet's stint in Duplo. 9 of the remaining 42 are Duplo elements, and this again cuts into the viability of the color in other systems. In fact, I think you can make a strong argument that Duplo actually does this color the most justice. And that's, well, that's great for Duplo diehards, I guess. For myself though, system is my bread and butter, and that's where Violet comes up pretty short. There are a fair number of weird Belleville or Scala molds that use the color, but there's a distinct lack of basic system elements to use here. The 8x8 plate and 2x3 slope are among the more common to find out in the wild, but the 2x3 plate and 4x6 brick also exist. Regardless, that's about all you have to work with. And like I said earlier, it's not much. You legitimately have better options working in Duplo than you do here. Seemingly system as a technicality, Zalix Racers features a couple of sets that use this color. Likewise, LEGO Sports made use of Violet for several of their minifigure jersey torso prints in the NBA line. Lastly, the before-mentioned 2x3 slope comes from a McDonald's Happy Meal toy, and as a result, I think this is anecdotally the most common mold to find using this color. Not a terrible mold to have a ton of, but it does leave you wishing for other similar elements to complement it within a build. Ultimately though, I don't want to make it sound like it's impossible to work within these restrictions. Builders can, and have, made great use of this color before. However, I would posit that it's because of these restrictions that these mocks are impressive. All I'm trying to do today is impress upon you just how limited your choices with this color truly are. And that's the thesis of this video. There's no individual mold here I'd consider to be truly bad. Well, okay, maybe there's one. But rather, the combined sum of the molds available just doesn't leave you with a lot of good options. Violet is a color that just couldn't pick a lane, and as such, I think it's a great color with a bad selection of molds. I could wrap the video up there, but I wanted to add a few more observations while I have you here. Firstly, this Belleville flower pot was the topic of discussion back in the Rockin' Robots video earlier this summer, but interestingly enough, I came to learn that violet is actually the most common color this mold was produced in. I think this is a feat few other LEGO elements can claim. I also wanted to point out the futility in hoping for a return of this color. The modern LEGO color dark purple pretty much mogs violet in every way, so much so that I think it's common to get the two mixed up. Dark purple might not be a great substitute for the color it was intended to replace, but I do think it makes for a decent successor to violet. Or maybe it was intended to replace both. To my eye, dark purple definitely looks like it slots in somewhere between violet and the original purple color, so I suppose anything's possible. Okay, that's probably enough. I'd like to thank the folks who support me during the summer of Slug, especially those subscribed to my Only Slugs tier. Folks like The Atoll, who is still the premier channel on YouTube for all things Waterworld. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love channels that find a niche and serve it to the best of their ability, and The Atoll is exactly that. Blacktron Bane, who is a longtime supporter and Blacktron's coolest mock builder. Blacktron fans have certainly been eating well with some of LEGO's recent releases, that's for sure. Maniac for Bricks, who is currently trying to build his entire Dryritz mock out of pick-a-brick selections from his local LEGO store. I think this is a really cool challenge he's taken on, so let's wish him luck in the project. Little Pardue, who straight up drives a Transformer. They have the Bumblebee Edition 2010 Camaro, and man does it look nice. I wonder if it talks by using radio stations. Trans Blue Bricks, who found a bulk lot with a bunch of Islander parts in it on the same day Dryritz was announced. That's serendipity if ever there was, so I look forward to seeing what she comes up with. Astral Cayman, who first got into LEGO when they were 5 years old on vacation at Disney World. The Thunder Driller was their first set, and what a great first set. Since discovering RR Slugger, they've come to appreciate Rock Raiders as well, so I'd say mission accomplished on my part. Air Zero, who tells me that they've been collecting big LEGO spaceships and is now almost ready. Ready for what, you may ask? Well, I think that's something we're gonna have to wonder about. And lastly, Bloodgear 14 AD, who recently finished in 3rd place at the HeroScape World Championship main event at Gen Con 2026. That's an incredibly tough field of players to get through, so a hearty congratulations for the deep run in the top cut. These folks, and many more, deserve our thanks for making the Summer of Slug a reality. If you'd like to pitch in and show your support, the links are in the video description. Before we close, this is a final boarding call for the Dryritz Community Mock Building theme. If you're planning on participating, get those submissions in pronto. I've been your host, RR Slugger, and I'll see you next time for another video.